Deborah, welcome. Thanks for coming over.
Thank you for having me.
A pleasure. A women ragtime composer, musician. That you don't hear a lot in the music industry to begin with, but tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, I became interested in ragtime when I was 11 years old. I heard a recording of Scott Joplin rags, and ever since I've been playing ragtime. And it was sort of something I wanted to do on my own. My teacher didn't want me to learn ragtime because it was too jazzy. I was studying classical music at the time. And then I was asked to do a program for a Women's History Month a few years ago by a college, and I had heard about the women ragtime composers, but I hadn't played any rags composed by women at that time. But so I decided to put together a program on women ragtime composers, and I usually do a general program on ragtime music by both genders, but once in a while I get a special request.
Talk to us a little bit about yourself, your background, where you're from, how you were educated, and where you are right now.
I'm originally from Acton, Massachusetts, and I grew up for the most part in southern New Hampshire, where I'm located now. I just moved back from Michigan, and I've been playing professionally for about 13 years. I started playing in nursing homes and restaurants, and I did that 10 times a week, or I would play 3 to 5 times a week in a restaurant, and played kind of more background music, so I wasn't really able to play the ragtime music because it's a little more rambunctious. So, and now I'm doing more concert style performances in all kinds of venues. Right now, my focus is libraries, but I didn't go to college. I studied piano when I was a little girl, and I've just kind of been playing ever since.
Wow, so you come from a musical family? Is this like a natural talent that you have?
I come from a musical family, yes, and the community I grew up in is very supportive of the arts too. So
what I find interesting is you also write ragtime, a composer as well.
Yes, well actually I don't write ragtime music, but I write like contemporary, just kind of modern classical music is what I call it, and so I like to play all kinds of different things. I've written boogie woogie music, so it keeps things interesting for me. Yeah.
For folks who don't know, can you define ragtime? You know, what it is, what the sound is, where it comes from?
Yes, well, it's originally from this country. It's said to be the original American pop music and the beginnings of jazz, and it started in the 1800s, and it's known for its syncopated rhythm, which means like a staggering of the rhythm, and it gives it kind of like an offbeated feel to it. And so it's kind of like your traditional march, traditional European march tempo, and the rhythm has been staggered. So that was something that's the hallmark of ragtime basically, but syncopation had existed in other kinds of music before that. But
when I hear it, the first things that conjures up, at least in my mind, is the old Wild Wild West, and the saloons and the player pianos and that whole genre. Is that accurate?
Yes, okay. Yes, definitely.
Is it hard? Is it a hard type of music to learn and play?
I would say so, yes. Yeah. I mean, even some of the rags I learned when I was little are still challenging for me to play to this day. Like, it doesn't ever, you have to really focus on what you're doing and watch your hands, because your left hand is providing basically the bass rhythm, and
You've had some national performances. Tell us a little bit about your appearance on ABC, Fox, NBC. How did that all come about?
Yes, well, I think those were just regionally broadcast, but yes, ABC Chicago might have been national. I'm not sure actually. And I just was performing in the area, and I just was asked to do performances on those stations, and so, and I just came back from Colorado. I performed in Colorado last fall, and I mainly tour the Midwest and New England now that I'm back here. So.
Okay. So is this your calling, Deborah? Is this your profession? This is the direction you want to go in?
Yes, yeah. I do play other kinds of music, but so my focus is more actually composing, but I've always played ragtime, and it's always so much fun for me to do. Okay. So I like to switch back and forth. Like I said, it keeps things fresh for me. But your question, I'm sorry, was why do they call it ragtime?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Yeah. Originally it was said that the rhythm sounded ragged, so it was called ragged time and then ragtime. So.
Okay, see, I just learned something. Very good. of all, welcome to everybody. Thanks for coming over. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
You are welcome. Let's run down real quick who we have here in studio. Joe Abad. We've got Max Schwimmer, Andrew Barnhart, and Tony Speranza, the Asylum Quartet. So, Joe, talk to us about this group and how you guys all get together.
Yeah, well, we are all alumni of the Hart School of Music in West Hartford, Connecticut. We all had met there as saxophone majors. And we had all been in various configurations of saxophone quartets there. And being classically trained, as we had talked about previously, we decided once we had graduated to give it a shot as to forming our own quartet as alumni and see how far we can go with it.
Now, were you all graduating in the same class?
We're all different, actually.
Oh, okay.
I got there, and Tony was there already. Max and Andrew came later. I was doing some doctoral work there. Max and Andrew came in to do their master's work, and Tony was there as a bachelor's and doing his certificate in performance.
Okay. So, I mean, you guys are all relatively young. When did the Asylum Quartet come to existence?
There was some talk late 2011, some performances here and there, 2012. Come 2013, we decided to really go full force with it and give it a go.
And how's it been going?
Great.
Andrew, you can talk to us a bit about your repertoire.
Yeah, so we each play 4 different saxophones, so the soprano, alto, tenor, and baritone.
Okay.
We all play all the saxophones, and we all had to play them a lot in school, but we each kind of are playing saxophones that we each are really comfortable on. So I play a lot of baritone saxophone, Joey plays a lot of soprano saxophone. And so, yeah, we stick to that configuration with just the 4 saxophones. That's the kind of standard classical chamber ensemble for saxophones is the quartet. It functions a lot like a string quartet. So we play a lot of standard saxophone quartet repertoire, but also a lot of newer things that are influenced by a lot of different styles of music.
See, when I think of saxophone as just a layperson, I think of jazz. You know, all kinds of jazz, certainly contemporary, traditional. I don't think of classical music. So, what does it sound like?
A lot of people can compare it to the sound of a string quartet. The ranges of the instruments are similar to that. Saxophone was actually invented in the mid-1800s, so it actually was around for a lot of the later classical music.
Max, maybe you could talk to us a little bit about the instrument you played, first of all, and what influenced you. Where do you kind of derive your musical influence from?
Sure. So I play the tenor saxophone. It's the 3rd lowest, I guess, in the group.
Lowest in terms of sound?
In range,
Okay.
yeah. So we each have sort of overlapping ranges, but distinct hierarchy, I guess. But I guess, I started playing like most of these guys, and like most people who start playing the saxophone, I started playing in middle school band, and just kind of got really into it throughout high school, and once I got to college, decided I really wanted to focus on music as a career. And I was lucky to study with some great teachers who inspired me to adopt this classical style of playing. But since we've all graduated, I think we've been interested in exploring all different kinds of styles. I think we do shy away a little bit from jazz just because there's so much great jazz stuff out there, and we want to see what kinds of other things we can do with the saxophone.
Right.
Yeah.
Tony, is there original Asylum Quartet music? Does anybody write musical score, or are you guys?
Not yet.
Okay.
Okay. We do have quite a few arrangements. Max does a lot of arranging.
Okay.
We're going to be working on an arrangement of a Philip Glass string quartet. We also were working with a composer in New York. We were actually there a couple weeks ago, playing some kind of world, almost, you could maybe say gypsy influenced kind of stuff. But no originals yet.
Okay.
Who knows, down the line.
So where do you get your material? What influences you? What can folks expect to kind of hear?
They'll definitely hear a lot of world influence. Definitely a lot of different styles. right now, I think that's kind of what we've been drawn to in terms of what we want to listen to and what we want to play. Like Joey had mentioned beforehand about what we'll be playing later, pieces based on cities or with the arrangement that Max did of the kind of the gypsy music. So it's kind of what we've been leaning towards these days.
Going along the same lines of what Tony was saying, we do offer a lot of that world influence type of music. Today here we'll be performing two movements of Guillermo Lago's piece called Ciudades. The first movement is called Cordoba, which is basically influence on his travels in Spain, and as well as the other movement we'll be playing is Addis Ababa, which is basically his travels in Ethiopia. So a lot of that we're also going to try to incorporate other movements from, we have one that we come back to from time to time on East Indian Bollywood music, really neat. But the idea here as classically trained musicians is that there is a refinement that we bring to it. And while it's not necessarily along the lines of jazz, there is something that has to be said about our pedigree in school as classically trained musicians, and how we bring that to the table as well. So
Why the Asylum Quartet? Where did the name generate from?
yeah, the name Asylum comes from a avenue, street in Hartford that runs through West Hartford and Hartford. So among its different literal meanings, it also means a lot to us being from the area. And when we establish international fame, we
I like
can
that
always have
positive
that.
attitude.
We can always have that to refer to as a nice grounding as to where we are from.
I've been a great fan of Western songs for a long time. It didn't occur to me until somewhat late in life that these old classics were, well, they're part of folk music. It's a branch of folk music. I sometimes tell people I like cowboy songs, and they say, oh, you mean country music? No. Western music is a different thing. And I've got some favorite songwriters. It's a little hard if you've got favorite songwriters to break out of the mold of their songwriting, but I've managed to get a few written, and this one is, I just call it Train West. It's a reflection of my long interest in the West. Some of the train trips I've been able to take with greats of folk music, Ramblin' Jack Elliott, and Ian Tyson, and others. And Train West. Rolling through the prairies in the observation car, see the moon rising beside the evening star. It's rising in the east, I am headed west. Wonder what I'll find after traveling so far. I left that eastern city, red brick and salty air. Did my share at clerk and saved enough to pay my fare. And keep some money in my pocket, it jingles with the train. When I get to Elko Station, I wonder who'll be there. One long, too short, one long. When we cross Lonesome Road, the engine sings its song. If I can't find her, if I learn that she is gone, I'll try to raise some money with whatever I can pawn. Buy myself a saddle, learn the cowboy trade, ride the lonesome nighthawk and whistle up the dawn. To the coyote's tune I'll ride all alone. The songs of the prairie wouldn't melt a heart of stone.
This one's called I Saw an Alcoholic. I saw an alcoholic, he was standing in the rain. It was hard to tell, but his cheeks were tear-stained. He was staring in the window of a fancy hotel. Someone shut the shade and it's just as well. Something looked familiar, a wedding of some sorts. The girl looked like his wife, long before court. He didn't quite remember, but it kinda jogged his mind. He thinks he might have known her from another time. Sober for a while, then it all caves in. Folks give up on you because they know where you've been. It's the same old story, though it thrills me to the bone. Used to be respected, now you're drinking alone. He told me he's a dad with a girl and boy, but that was way back when he was just a decoy. He crawled inside a bottle that had no drain. Now the street corner's home where he lives with wet brain. I don't know why I can quit, but he don't. Each time I try to help him, he just turns to stone. Peter, wake up, you're dying on the street. Don't let the headstone be cracked concrete. Sober for a while and it all caves in. Folks give up on you because they know where you've been. It's the same old story and it chills me to the bone. Used to be respected, now you're living alone. There's help out there if you don't wanna die, but if you do I'll understand, or at least I'll try. But either way, I'll be standing by your side, through thick and thin, just like time's gone by. Sober for a while and it all caves in. Folks give up on you because they know where you've been. It's the same old story and it chills me to the bone. You used to be respected, now you're drinking alone. You're all alone.